Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire Geek, and multiple Star Trek newses today. So let's have a look at them. What's happening there? Oh God, what's happening then? It's me L car's updating. I wonder what's going on then. Right, so with some Star Trek news. So let's have a look. First up, this is from the Digital Fix, which for some reason I've got to watch in Chrome. Not watch, but look at in Chrome. Because if I look at it in Microsoft Edge, but the adverts everywhere, even though I've got the ad blocker on. Anyway, this is from the Digital Fix. As usual, links are in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed. I'm also on Rumble and Anchor.fm, Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, Google Podcasts, social medias, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Links are in the description, as are the links to my 2 books. I've put them somewhere and I can't find them. Mercury Rapids and Silent Predator. They're just a bit of fun. Right, Digital Fix. The Star Trek 4. Star Trek 4 just got promising update and it might not be dead, Jim. Star Trek 4 has been struggling to get off the ground for years, but the science fiction movie just got a surprisingly promising update. And there's Chris Pine as the alternate James T. Kirk, the JJ Kirk. Star Trek 4 might not be dead after all, according to director Matt Shakman, who was formerly attached to helm the movie. Since Star Trek Beyond in 2016, the Star Trek movie series hasn't exactly been in the healthiest, almost stable place. While it was the best of the trilogy of science fiction movies, Beyond also underperformed at the box office, leading to uncertainty about the future of Star Trek on the big screen. Still, work on another sequel with the returning cast did eventually begin, and for a while Star Trek 4 seemed to be making progress, with December 2023 release date penciled in. That was just what J.J. Abrams said. He just came out with this fantasy notion that he was going to do Star Trek 4, even though he hadn't even told the cast. Then the Adventure movie was hit by a slew of production issues, including struggles to tie down the cast, because they didn't tell them that they were going to make the film, major rewrites of the script, and more than one director pulled out of the project amid all the turmoil. But Star Trek 4 was then removed entirely from Paramount's slate of upcoming releases, leading to speculation that the new movie had been cancelled. It has. Bad news for Star Trek fans. Not really. Now we finally have something positive to say about Star Trek 4, as Matt Shakman, who was at one point the director of the movie, has said that progress is still underway on it. Speaking with Collider, Shakman was asked about Star Trek 4 and he said, "I'm probably not really allowed to speak too much about it because I think what they're still working on is a version of what I had been working on for the time that I was involved." He said they were working on it for a year, but then went on to do. He's moving on to the Fantastic Four. Anyway, while his comments don't seem to give anything away, they do show that Star Trek 4 is still in active development. No, it's not. Which therefore means that not all hope is lost for the project. Still, we seem to be quite a way off Star Trek 4 getting anywhere close to the start of production, and it's not clear that there is a finalised script which is being progressed forward with, and the movie still lacks a director. When those kinks are ironed out, as they hopefully will be, then we might get to see some real updates on Star Trek 4, including a better idea of what it might focus on within the story. Blah, blah, blah. They're not doing Star Trek 4. Not in a JJ verse, I don't think. I think they're going to just carry on with the TV stuff and forget about the films. That's what I think. I think they're going to forget about the films, or maybe move on and do a Discovery movie, which I hope not, because Discovery is terrible. But you never know. We might even see more Next Generation movies. If this season 3 of Star Trek Picard is a big success, which it looks like it might be, which starts next week, I suspect we could see either another series with that cast, or some of that cast, or we might see spin-off movies. You never know. Because they've all said they're up for it. All the old TNG cast have said they're up for it, so we will see. Right, moving on. What shall we do next? Star Trek Strange New Worlds' dual Gorn species theory explained. The Gorn in Strange New Worlds, this is from Screen Rant, by the way. The Gorn in Strange New Worlds are very different from Star Trek the original series, leading to a theory that there are two species of the alien reptiles. And there's a photo you can't see. There's the one from Arena and one of the hatchling Gorn from Strange New Worlds. Don't look very much alike, do they? But it doesn't show a picture of the one that we saw in Enterprise for some reason. Anyway, hang on, I've gone too far. Look, hang on, where are we? There we go. Right, the answer to Star Trek Strange New Worlds' Gorn plot hole could lie in the theory that there are two variant Gorn species. The Star Trek the original series prequel caused a slight canon headache when Lieutenant La'an Noonien Singh, Christina Chong, revealed her tragic backstory involving the Gorn when the brutal reptile species were first introduced in Star Trek the original series Season 1, Episode 19, Arena. Captain Kirk, William Shatner, of course, is pitted against a Gorn captain when both their ships enter into Metron space. This was classed as the first official encounter between the Gorn and the Federation, which was contradicted by La'an's horrific experience at their hands. I think they're struggling out to, fix these, canon inconsistencies. Because although I did like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, apart from the final episode and the Gorn episode, I did enjoy it, but the last two episodes weren't the best. In other episodes, they did muck about with canon quite a bit, to be honest. Although I did enjoy the series as a whole. But anyway, but as Robert Marbinet says, he moans about it changing things, but is one of his axioms he lives by that he said last night on one of his live streams. Don't put your universe ahead of your story or your characters. So he would seem to admit that you can change canon because that's your universe, isn't it? Is the canon. If your story's good, you can change canon to fit it. That's what he seems to suggest, although I suspect he might disagree. It's all open to interpretation, isn't it? However, Star Trek Discovery had already subtly seeded this contradiction in Season 1, Episode 3, Context is for Kings, when Discovery Season 1 villain Captain Gabriel Lorca, Jason Isaacs, stood in front of a display case containing a Gorn skeleton. Given Lorca's origins in the Mirror Universe, it's entirely possible that he encountered a Gorn there, especially given that another Gorn skull was on display aboard the ISS Shenzhou in the Mirror Universe. But another explanation for the apparent plot hole in Strange New Worlds is that there are two different species of Gorn. And there it is. It's got a tail as well. Maybe the tails fall off as they get older. It's not just La'an's traumatic childhood experience as a Gorn prisoner that complicates Star Trek's canonical timeline. In Strange New Worlds Season 1, Episode 9, All Those Who Wonder, an Enterprise away team, including Pike, Anson Mount and Spock, Ethan Peck, discovered the remains of the crew of the crashed USS Peregrine. They discovered that the crew had been killed by Gorn hatchlings. Chief Engineer Hemmer, Bruce Horak, was also infected and sacrificed himself to save his crew. Why did they get rid of Hemmer? One of the best characters. Unbelievable. As I said, I loved the series, but it went massively downhill those last two episodes. I suspect Kurtzman involvement. Where were we? Chief Engineer Hemmer, Bruce, I've just said that. As hatchlings, these Gorn obviously couldn't diplomatically represent their species, so canon remains mostly intact, even if it's odd that Spock, Leonard Nimoy in Arena, never mentioned his previous encounters with the Gorn. However, all those who wonder, they said, wouldn't they, we have never encountered these Gorn, although we did encounter another species from the Gorn homeworld. They could have said that, couldn't they? Or a subspecies of Gorn, who are not intelligent. He could have said that, couldn't he? Or sentient, or whatever. However, All Those Who Wonder revealed many differences between these new Gorn and the ones seen in the original series. Firstly, the Gorn hatchlings are far faster than the one that Kirk faced off against in Arena, because they had that great fight, didn't he? It was really slow. It's comedic almost. Unlike the adult Gorn captain, these hatchlings are quadrupedal, walking on all fours rather than bipedal or bipedal. You could say that humans are quadrupeds when they're born, because we crawl first, don't we? Not immediately, but and then walk upright after a whole year. Anyway, this allows them to be much more savage and animalistic, and don't forget they've got tails as well. Lacking the conversational skills and intimidation deployed by the Gorn captain during his fight with Kirk. This is likely because they've not yet matured. As La'an points out, they wouldn't be able to beat the Gorn if their hatchlings matured into adults. That observation matches up with what was already established in Arena, notably that a single adult Gorn is 10 times stronger than a human being and could kill off a whole landing party with ease. However, it doesn't explain why Strange New Worlds established that the Gorn breed by using human beings as hosts for their parasitic eggs. If that were true, then it's strange that the Gorn in Arena lure the Enterprise crew to Cestus 3 purely with the intention of hunting and killing them. A more parasitic and savage offshoot of the Gorn species would account for these differences. By the way, curiously, Cestus 3 is also in Deep Space Nine. It's mentioned in it anyway. I don't know if they actually go there, because Cassidy Yates's brother lives on Cestus 3. They've got a baseball team. So that would mean the Metrons allowed people to live there. They must have done. How could there be two Gorn species in Star Trek? Star Trek has come up with creative solutions to changes in species design before, such as when they changed the look of the original series Klingons in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, so they could have the same ridged foreheads as seen in the original series movies and Star Trek The Next Generation. It therefore wouldn't be a huge stretch to confirm that those three Klingons were, Kor, I forgot the names now. Kor and two others. Kor, Kang, and Kodos. No, not Kodos. Kodos is that alien in The Simpsons, isn't it? What is it called? I don't know. Kor, Kang. It might be Kodos. I can't remember now. Anyway, Michael and Sarah, John Colicos, and the other fella. Me and names. But yeah, they appeared in the original series, as original series Klingons, and then they appeared in Deep Space Nine with ridges. But then Enterprise did explain how they lost their ridges, because of the augment virus. So they could have gotten back later, couldn't they? They could have, lost their ridges, and then maybe the virus were cured later and the ridges returned, or they had excuse me, maybe they had surgery, to cosmetic surgery to have them replaced. I don't know. Anyway, therefore wouldn't be a huge stretch to confirm alternate subspecies of Gorn to Star Trek canon in future episodes of Strange New Worlds. It would explain the Gorn's different abilities already seen in Strange New Worlds Season 1, while also providing a substantial and terrifying new alien for future Star Trek shows. Although a Gorn featured in Star Trek Enterprise Season 4, Episode 19, In the Mirror Darkly, they've never really had a substantial role in Star Trek following their debut appearance in Arena. Yeah, that were in the Mirror Universe, where they were a Gorn working as like an overseer on the USS Defiant, which had been captured by the Tholians. And they were, trying to reverse engineer it, weren't they? This means that as a culture they're largely unexplored, and despite the concrete date of first contact with the Federation in 2267, there's lots of room for Strange New Worlds as writers to develop the species further. This could easily include variations of Gorn, such as the vicious hatchlings encountered in All Those Who Wander. Star Trek already has set a precedent for species offshoots. Here we go. Star Trek has introduced and that's Andorian and an Enar. Can you see that? There we go. Andorian and an Enar. That's Shran and that's Hemmer. Although it does look different to the Enar that we saw in Enterprise. Obviously, they've all got to stick things on, haven't they? And 25% different. Anyway, Star Trek has introduced a number of species offshoots or species that are classed as biological cousins. Hemmer was an Enar, first introduced in Star Trek Enterprise Season 4, Episode 13, United. The Enar are a subspecies of Andorian that, while sharing the same antenna, have a paler complexion than the blue-skinned Andorians. They're also blind and telepathic. The Enar live in the icy northern wastes of Andoria and are incredibly powerful telepaths. Like the Gorn, the Enar were also believed to be a myth and continue to live a secretive existence even after being rediscovered by the Andorian government. As revealed in the original series' hugely influential Balance of Terror, the Vulcans and the Romulans are biological cousins. The Romulans were descended from Vulcans who left their home world to establish their own culture on the planet Romulus. Centuries after the diplomatic work of Spock, the Vulcan and Romulan peoples were revealed to have unified in Star Trek Discovery. Season 3, Episode 7, Unification 3. Because there were 2 episodes of TNG called Unifications, that's why they call that. A great 2-parter, really good, with Leonard Nimoy as Spock. Excellent stuff. Although tensions still existed between the two, these 2 notable examples of the diversity of Star Trek's alien species allow for confirmation of a different type of Gorn in Strange New Worlds Season 2. And it also could be argued that there are 2 types of Romulan. Star Trek Picard showed us that the Romulans with the head ridges were from the north and of Romulus, and the smooth ones that we saw in Balance of Terror and Star Trek Picard were obviously not from the north. What else we've also seen, I don't know if maybe they'll mention this later, but in Enterprise, of course, we had the Xindi. The Xindi, who were all different species that evolved to intelligence on the same planet, the Xindi homeworld, with 5 species of them altogether. So you could include that as well. Not all Xindi are the same. There's humanoids, or they're called primates, arboreals, aquatics, reptilians, and insectoids, and there are also the avians. So there were 6 species of Xindi originally, but the avian ones became extinct. Right, while the possibility of 2 Gorn species accounts for the disparity with established Trek canon, the arrival of Paul Wesley's James T. Kirk in Strange New Worlds Season 2 complicates things. In Arena, it's clear that Kirk has never heard the name Gorn before. When the Metrons send both Kirk and the Gorn captain to the planet's surface, Kirk observes that I face the creature the Metrons called a Gorn. Prior to this, the Enterprise has chased an unidentified and unrecognised ship belonging to the Gorn across space. While Kirk wasn't present for the battle between the Enterprise and the Gorn ships in Memento Mori, his brother Sam, Dan Jeanot, was a member of the away team that discovered the Gorn hatchlings. Yes, he was. Yes, I forgot all about Sam Kirk being in Strange New Worlds. It's not impossible that Samuel Kirk didn't share the details of the mission, but if he did, during All Those Who Wonder, Sam refers to the Gorn as lizards. This could easily mean that the name Gorn is forgotten in the retelling. A Kirk team-up in Strange New Worlds Season 2 could therefore avoid making the plot hole worse. They won't care. But with the Gorn such a huge part of La'an's backstory, it's hard to see how Kirk could avoid learning that information. Therefore, a revelation, because it'll be in the Federation logs and the Starfleet logs. It's there, it'll be there. Therefore, a revelation that the horrifying reptiles that captured La'an's family weren't the same Gorn that appeared in Arena would help fill the apparent plot hole. But they're still Gorn, they're still using that word. La'an's hatred of the Gorn could be challenged by new information about the reptiles. It would certainly be very in keeping with Gene Roddenberry's original values if Star Trek Strange New Worlds revealed that La'an's prejudice was misplaced due to her own trauma. The only sticking point is the Gorn name, as I've just said. But perhaps once Pike's Enterprise crew discovers the vicious reptiles are called something else, the real Gorn go back to being the stuff of mythology until they attack Cestus 3. But then again, even though that might be the case, but the name is still out there, isn't it? And if they hadn't even heard of them, in the original series, as I said, it's tricky to keep canon, in check. But it's not tricky. It is for these locks. They don't seem to care, do they? But they'll just say these are the Gorn, and they're just going to ignore that the originals, because they're going to remake the original series. That's what I think they're going to do, sort of. I wouldn't be surprised if they do just do another show just called Star Trek, and it's going to be like a remake or a reimagining of the original series with Paul Wesley as James T. Kirk on the Enterprise. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen, and they're just going to rewrite Star Trek history and try and push the original series to one side because it's quaint and balsa wood and jelly beans controls and stuff. So they're going to try and forget that. Right. So next up, we've got a couple of stories about the USS Titan, and I'm not entirely sure if this is canon. This article says it is, but I don't know. Star Trek reveals a huge update to the original series' Vulcan Saavik after 37 years. Technically not the original series. She was in the original series cast movie. She was in Star Trek 2, 3 and 4, wasn't she? Oh, pardon me. Right, Saavik was last seen in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, but a huge canonical update, see, it says canonical, links the Vulcan Starfleet officer to Riker in Picard Season 3, and there's the lovely, gorgeous, the late, great Kirstie Alley as the original Saavik. In Star Trek 2, she was played by Robin Curtis in Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4. And there's the Titan in the background, the Titan A in the background. Right, Vulcan Starfleet officer Saavik, Kirstie Alley / Robin Curtis from the Star Trek, the original series films, just received a major canonical update prior to Star Trek Picard Season 3. Saavik was introduced in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, as a lieutenant, see, a cadet lieutenant, because she still had the cadet colours, as a lieutenant mentored by Captain Spock, Leonard Nimoy. She got a quick and intense education when the USS Enterprise was forced into a battle with Admiral James T. Kirk's, William Shatner's, old nemesis Khan Noonien Singh, Ricardo Montalban. Whoa, where are you going? What happened to Lieutenant Saavik after her brief and final appearance in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, has been an unanswered question for 37 years. But the official Star Trek Logs Instagram entry, see, I've never heard of the Star Trek Logs, about the USS Titan in Star Trek Picard Season 3 unexpectedly dropped a huge revelation about Saavik's Starfleet career. And if you click that, sod it, let's click it.
Starship Profile USS Titan. There have been 3 Starfleet vessels to bear the name Titan. NCC 1777, Shangri-La class. Launched in 2290 under the command of Captain Saavik. Known for its multiple encounters with the Klingon Empire, including the Exoport takeover and Horizon colony rescue. The Titan became Starfleet's flagship under the recommendation of Captain Sulu of the Excelsior. The Titan was instrumental in maintaining frontier stability before the Khitomer Accords and subsequent launch of the Enterprise B.
There you go. NCC 1777, Shangri-La class with Captain Saavik. There you go. After a brief farewell to the original series crew at the beginning of Star Trek 4, because they were on Vulcan, weren't they? And they had the captured Klingon bird of prey, didn't they? They went from Vulcan to Earth, saved the Earth from the whale probe, blah, blah, blah. Saavik remained on Vulcan, never to be seen again. She was an important figure in what is arguably the very best Star Trek movie. What, Star Trek 2? I think that's what they're on about, aren't they? And it was always a bit baffling that she never got a proper follow-up story. However, at Star Trek Logs, it's considered canon as the updates the Instagram feed provided during Star Trek Prodigy were official backstory for Season 1. So there you go, so maybe it is true then. So here we go. Saavik's mention in Star Trek Logs Instagram confirms that years after Star Trek 4, she took command of the Shangri-La class USS Titan, NCC 1777. The first Starfleet vessel. I wonder what a Shangri-La class looks like. I've heard of it before. Wonder if we've seen one. I bet it's like a... I won't be surprised if it's a Miranda variant. I bet it is. The first Starfleet vessel to bear that name in 2290. Shall we have a look? Let's have a look. Let's do a Google. Let's do a Google. Shangri-La class starship. Images. Oh, there we go. There's a Shangri-La class. Oh, right. So it's actually, you know what? It's similar. Can you see it? Oh, you can't see it, can you? Let's move that over. Hang on, can we do this? Open image in new window. Not link. Yeah, open image in new tab. There we go. We'll do that. There you go. You can see it better now. There we go. So there we go. I don't know what that one is. That's obviously not the Titan, but it's... is this a new thing? But it's similar to the Titan, the Neo-Constitution class. But it's got, the old motion picture era nacelles, hasn't it? But this engineering hull and this, the saucer section is very reminiscent of the Neo-Constitution or Constitution 3 class. So I don't know if this is a new design. I don't know. The new Titan looks like the model of the whatever that is. Oh, right, so they've taken it from somewhere else, but it does fit into the motion picture era and Star Trek 2 era vessels. So there we go. So they have taken that design forward to the 25th century with the Titan 8, haven't they? So that's interesting. Right, anyway, back where were we? In 2290, Saavik's Titan was apparently known for its many run-ins with the Klingons, which would make sense given how volatile a time that was. Oh, hang on. Oh, for God's sake. There we go. How volatile a time that was for relations between the United Federation of Planets and the Klingon Empire prior to Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Yeah, because that were after 2290, wasn't it? Yeah, well, were it 2291 that? I think it was. Further, the Titan, commanded by Captain Saavik, was named the Federation flagship at the suggestion of Captain Hikaru Sulu, George Takei, her fellow Enterprise alum, who would go on to a storied career as the commanding officer of the USS Excelsior, NCC 2000. Excelsior class, obviously. Though seen very early in her career in the original series films, Saavik always seemed destined for greatness. She made a strong impression on Kirk in The Wrath of Khan, reminding the Admiral of Starfleet protocols whenever he inevitably went a bit rogue with his strategy. And she also fibbed and got emotional. But we know Vulcans have emotions. But the backstory was that she was half Romulan, but they changed that. Saavik was instrumental in reviving Spock in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. They did it, didn't they? Vulcan style. Star Trek logs also notes that it was due to the legacy of Captain Saavik and Captain Will Riker, Jonathan Frakes, that the USS Titan became a legacy ship, with the USS Titan A serving as the hero ship of Star Trek Picard Season 3. The part of Lieutenant Saavik was originated by Kirstie Alley in The Wrath of Khan. Alley was a standout performer in Star Trek 2 who won over audiences as a new female character on the Enterprise bridge. When she was approached to return for The Search for Spock, Alley and the studio Paramount entered a contract dispute, with Alley ultimately deciding not to return. I'm sure though that she really did want to do it, but I think they wanted to pay her less money, I think. Probably because she might not have been in it as much. Although she was quite important in Star Trek 3, wasn't she? Well, Saavik, she was a major character. And I think they wanted to pay her less than what she got for Star Trek 2, which, her and her agent or whatever, obviously, didn't want any part of that. Anyway, Alley was replaced by Robin Curtis in The Search for Spock and The Voyage Home. Curtis does solid work in the role, but she wasn't nearly as dynamic as Alley. She played it straight as a straight Vulcan, emotionless Vulcan, whereas Kirstie Alley's Saavik were a lot like T'Pol, to be honest, with their emotions close to the surface. Director Nicholas Meyer contemplated bringing Ali back for Saavik for Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, but she had become one of TV's highest paid actresses on the hit sitcom Cheers, and her price and schedule made a return impossible. Saavik was replaced by a new character, Lieutenant Valeris, Kim Cattrall. Star Trek Picard, another one that the backstory said you were half Vulcan, half Romulan, which they decided to not do again. Or that she was raised on a colony close to the Romulan border, something like that. Star Trek Picard Season 3 promises to continue the stories of many franchise legacy characters, but that Saavik is one of them is a delightful surprise. Right, so that's interesting. So, I don't know, what's this though? Oh, because it's the Titan, isn't it? What's this got to do with Picard Season 3? But it's saying that Saavik was the captain of the Titan back in the day. So we're carrying on with Picard Season 3. Star Trek reveals Enterprise to be decommissioned. Move this over. This is from comicbook.com. Right, the Enterprise F will finally debut in the upcoming third and final season of Star Trek Picard, only to apparently be decommissioned by Starfleet. The trailer for Star Trek Picard that Paramount released during the Star Trek Universe panel... move that up a bit, shall I? Star Trek Universe panel at New York Comic Con, Paramount Plus revealed that the USS Enterprise F, the successor to the Enterprise E that Jean-Luc Picard commanded in Star Trek First Contact, Star Trek Insurrection, and Star Trek Nemesis, after the Enterprise D's destruction in Star Trek Generations. While we knew that the Titan would be Picard's third season's hero ship, we now know that Enterprise F isn't only not in the spotlight, but set to be taken out of service. I don't understand this. This information comes from the new data logs from Titan's computer released via the Star Trek Logs Instagram account, which we just heard as canonical. The file on the Enterprise reveals new information about Enterprise F, confirming that it is an Odyssey class that launched in 2386. Are they sure about that? It avoids naming the ship's captain. I'm sure, because it was introduced in Star Trek Online, which is supposed to be canonical-ish, and I'm sure it's supposed to be launched in like the early 2400s, 2402 or something like that. I'm sure that's what it said. Anyway, but I think Star Trek Picard Season 3 takes place in 2402. So, I don't know. Anyway, it avoids naming, so it should have been a new ship then. But anyway, it avoids naming the ship's captain by simply stating that several have commanded the ship over its 15 years of its service. It also states that the ship is scheduled for decommissioning after its critical systems were compromised during something called the Monfet Gambit, in which the ship rescued refugees from Fenton 4. The data file says the ship will have its final flight during Frontier Day, so that's what we see, in the trailer for Picard Season 3. We see lots of starships and the space dock, don't we? So I think that's supposed to be it. So let's have a look at this then, see what this says.
Starship Profile, USS Enterprise. There have been 8 Starfleet vessels to bear the name Enterprise. NX-01, NX class. Launched in 2151. Commanded by Jonathan Archer. First Warp 5 capable vessel. NCC-1701, Constitution class. Launched in 2245. Commanded by Captains Robert April, Christopher Pike, and James T. Kirk. Received extensive refit in the 2270s. Lost in battle at Genesis.
Just pause that a minute. They always forget about that ring ship, don't they, that we saw in the motion picture. You see it on the Enterprise recreation deck. It shows the previous ships called Enterprise, a sailing ship and a nuclear aircraft carrier. Doesn't show the NX, because they hadn't thought of that yet, but it shows like a ring ship, which is, I think, is where they got the design for Vulcan ships, isn't it? But it shows a ring ship, and it's supposed to be the XCV something like that, isn't it? The thing. So that's supposed to be the first, Enterprise starship, I think. But they never mentioned that. They've kind of forgotten about that. Although I think we do see it on a table, maybe in Star Trek Into Darkness. Admiral, I forgot his name. The baddie admiral. Robocop. He might have it on his desk, I think. A model of it, but I'm not sure. Right, anyway.
This planet. NCC-1701A, Refit Constitution Class. Launched in 2286. Commanded by Captain James T. Kirk. Hosted Klingon Chancellor Gorn for initial peace talks before being decommissioned. NCC-1701B, Excelsior Class. Launched in 2293. Commanded by Captain John Harriman. Rescued Elarian refugees from the Nexus. NCC-1701C, Ambassador Class. Launch date classified. Commanded by Captain Rachel Garrett. Lost, saving a Klingon outpost from Romulan attack. NCC-1701D, Galaxy Class. Launched in 2362. Commanded by Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Completed numerous historic missions. Lost at Viridian 3. NCC-1701E, Sovereign Class. Launched in 2373. Commanded by Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Stopped Borg from preventing first contact with the Vulcans. Final mission classified. NCC-1701F, Odyssey Class. Launched in 2386. Commanded by several captains in the past 15 years. Currently scheduled for decommissioning after critical systems were compromised during the Mon Fet Gambit, the rescue efforts for the Rylian refugees on Fenton 4. The Enterprise F's final flight will be on display during this year's Frontier Day.
There you go. There you go. And of course we know there's an Enterprise J from the future, but obviously they won't know that. So yeah, 2386. So what happened to the Enterprise E then? What year did Nemesis take place in? It wasn't 2386, was it? It wasn't that far along. Let's have a look. Let's type this in. Star Trek Nemesis. Timeline I'll put in. See what year it's. Oh, not in images. Give over. 2371. There we go. On that first contact that started. Well, the first contact started. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What year was Star Trek Nemesis set there? We'll look at that one. 2379. All right, very good. Right, so it carries on for another 7 years then, doesn't it? Before the Odyssey is launched, the Odyssey class one is launched. So I'm thinking, the Nemesis, then it crashed, but we saw it being repaired, didn't we, at the end? So we know that. And they said its final mission's classified. So I wonder what's happened to the Enterprise E. Why is its final mission classified? You know why? Because they haven't thought of it yet. Right, so there you go. Anyway, where were we? Let's carry on reading. The Odyssey class design used for the USS Enterprise F in Star Trek Picard is taken from the video game Star Trek Online. They did the competition. In the Star Trek Online timeline, command of the USS Enterprise F was being offered to Data, brought back to life through B4, which we saw in the Star Trek Countdown comic prequel to the 2009 Star Trek. But he declined because he was captain of the Enterprise E at that time. By the time of Star Trek Online's 2409, the ship is under the command of Andorian captain Vakel Shon. But obviously that's obviously not canon now, because if it's going to be decommissioned in 2402, with the Enterprise F set for decommissioning, does that mean that Starfleet will be without an Enterprise, or could we see Enterprise G make its debut? Fans don't have too much longer to wait. Oh, that's it. Yeah. It premieres next week, 16th, 17th in the UK. So there you go. It's a curious one, is that, about the Odyssey class. I thought it was an early 25th century starship. I thought the Enterprise E went on for a few more years. But apparently not. The rewriting canon again. Or is it canon? I always thought Star Trek Online were kind of canon. I suppose you could call it beta canon or beta canon. So it's obviously not proper canon. Right, so that's it. Just some Star Trek stories that I found interesting. That went on a while, didn't it? Right, so we'll leave it there. So thanks for watching. Wherever you are in the universe, look after each other. And until next time, I'll say thee. And I'm going to be playing Hogwarts Legacy again a bit later on. So if you want to watch me do rubbish at that, even though I've got it set on super easy difficulty, I'll be live later on. So anyway, bye. I'll say thee.